Have you ever wondered how your city councilman could help you? Well, this week on Motivation and Confidence, we speak with Pierre Gooding, who's running for city councilman in New York City for the second term. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Tommy. My name is Pierre Gooding. I'm running for city council for the second time in District 9, Harlem. I was born in the Grand Houses. That's really what drives me, what motivated me to run. When I started running, there was actually a lack of heating, electricity in the buildings, in the Grand Houses for months. And so this was 2017 when I formally declared, but we had been thinking about it for months previously because of these sorts of issues. So when you see housing inequities and disparities, and I was teaching, seeing a lack of air conditioners in classrooms and those sorts of issues, obviously going to the macro level of planning, education planning, and curriculum, et cetera, making sure our students have what they need to succeed, and paying our teachers. These are issues that can be solved at a city council level. So that's why I'm running. There's a multitude of issues across the district that I'm sure we'll talk about, but they need to be solved. They've been a problem for quite some time now, and we can't just talk about the problems. We have to have solutions and implement them. So that's what drives me to run. That's what motivates me, and that's why we're here.
Okay. So growing up, and I read your bio and everything, but for the people that don't know, tell us a little bit about your background, because you were very distinguished as a young man as far as honors and stuff like that. And I think it's important because that's something that as young Black men growing up, we only see two types of successful people, right? Growing up as kids, like I only saw the drug dealers and the hustlers. Like that was what was around me, you know?
Yeah, and then, Tommy, not to cut you off, but let's add in, unfortunately, for what we see for success, our professional athletes and our entertainers, we're going to try to break out that cycle, but I definitely want to add them in because those were sort of aspirations as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what you did was you stood on your own, and what kept you on track? What was your motivation? Tell us about your background and how you got into the Gifted and Talented program, and like paint the picture for Grant Houses. Like you sort of glazed over it, no heat. So, but Grant is one of the toughest projects in Harlem.
No, you're absolutely right. So Tommy, the story for me is that in 1984, when I was born, there was a crack epidemic, and so my mother had to make the decision to take me out of the Grand Houses because the school I was going to go to right across the street wasn't doing well. She brought me to Massachusetts, and I had the opportunity to go to public schools that are working and functional. And from there, I was able to go to the University of Pennsylvania and be the second Black president there, and go to law school there as well, and receive my master's at Pace University. But all those opportunities came from what you're referring to, the beginning cycle of education at preschool, pre-K, 3K, on up, where you develop those skills. And so the teacher said to me, or to my parents, we think that your son might be a fit for the Gifted and Talented program, Center for Talented Youth, CTY, a program that may be called IAAY at this point, or may not be existent because this was a few years back. But I was fortunate enough to test into the program, and I believe it set me up for success. But we have a bunch of little geniuses running around Harlem, and that's what we're trying to cultivate, that success, that partnership with Google and Amazon, these entities that have these resources that we can bring to our school children so that they can succeed in the same way. I mean, the possibilities are endless, especially with a $90 billion budget. But currently, we're the most segregated school system in the country, and we have to fix these sorts of issues. Number one city for homelessness. These are the sorts of things that motivate me, because there should not be this inequity based on where you grew up. It's absurd, and it's harmful. It creates a cycle, and it's morally corrupt.
So when you talk about the Gifted and Talented program, and you took that exam, in your experience, do you think that exam is positioned more or less toward white people as opposed to black people?
Well, you have to look at the structure. If the school system that you're in is functional and it's largely white in terms of a population, and another school system is largely black and it's not functional, it's dysfunctional, well, then the outcomes are in your face. So to talk about whether it's racist or discriminatory, it's obvious. If you create a school system in a community that does not work over a period of time, and you can see that with statistics and data, you're creating a cycle of inequity, which we are trying to break. So there are clear differences based on where you grow up and based on the color of your skin, based on the outcomes for education. It's right there for anyone to see who wants to actually dive in.
Right. My son took the exam when he was in the 4th grade. And his story is he's not a lawyer or anything. He's an engineer.
Yes.
But he took the exam. He actually scored second highest in the United States and went to the Anderson School, which is down on 62nd Street. And he was sort of in the STEM program ever since he was in elementary school, which led him to Brooklyn Tech, which then led him to RIT. And I know that the influence of my wife and I on him, as far as keeping him away from the streets and keeping him in books, had that difference on him. So while the exam is definitely marginalized, I think that because we pushed his natural talents, the things that he felt a general thirst for, as far as getting into mechanics and building and putting things, when did you realize that you had a thirst for such knowledge?
Well, first, I want to say congratulations to you and your son and anybody around him that cultivated that success. He's an engineer, not a lawyer, because he's smart. That's the path to go. That's the money maker, and that's going to be the next generation is going to save our planet through engineering and the like. So, shout out to your son. And what you're showing with him succeeding is that it is possible with the right structure, with the right parental guidance, with the right teachers. But unfortunately, not everybody has that. And that's what we're trying to set up. We're trying to make sure that the students that don't have necessarily a parent involved in the process can still succeed at the highest level. So for me, I believe the question was, at what point did I know that I wanted to be a lawyer? My mother, she says I knew I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 7, 3, I don't know, but she says that I knew I wanted to be a lawyer really early. And I told her that I wanted to be a lawyer or a basketball player. But Tommy, between you and me, I'm 5'8". So, one of those aspirations were out the window pretty quickly, but I'm a talker. And I thought I saw the law as a way that you could change things. I would stay up for the presidential elections, and you see a bunch of lawyers in these things, whether they're female or male. And so that was sort of aspirational and inspirational for me. And at the time, not even taking a look at the lack of disparity in terms of the amount of African-Americans in politics and in office. So that's sort of how I got into law. It's been very, very generous to me in terms of being able to then run for office and do what I want to do in terms of helping the community because of that background. Not necessarily because you've cultivated in law school, but because you have built up some means to then run. So that's all a part of it. I'm very, very grateful. But certainly, shout out to Mom, as always, who made sure that came to fruition.
Nice. Let's take a look at what has been going on in the past year, especially here in the city, with the outbreak of COVID and the increased capacity in the hospitals. I've noticed that in my neighborhood, there is a sudden influx of homeless people on the street or mentally ill people, right? That are just, it seems as if they're being displaced just, all throughout the neighborhood now. Like there's nowhere for them to go. If you were elected, how would you address that issue?
Sure. There's a short-term and a long-term solution to a lot of these problems. I think you need both of them. In the short term, I ran 2 homeless shelters over the past 3 years, one in Harlem and one in Queens. You have to make sure that our bed stabilization programs are safe and that individuals want to go to them, because currently folks would choose not to go to shelters and stay outside, and that's why you're seeing a lot of homeless individuals outside. Long term, there is a home for every person in New York City. And so we would like to open up that lot and make sure that every person is housed accordingly. We are sitting on a lot of empty apartments, especially with the outflux due to COVID. And so now is the time to place our homeless folks in homes, and then make sure that they are sustained with programs, retraining programs, training programs, job programs, to make sure that they can lead happy and healthy lives like the rest of New York. There is a solution to this problem if we care and if we want to get serious. And it can be solved at a city council level.
Okay. So for the viewers who may not understand what the role of a city council person is, can you break that down, please?
Yes. It starts with the $90 billion budget that's obviously generated through tax revenue in the city. So that is broken up amongst 51 city council districts and used for all sorts of programs that we need every day, like education, housing assistance, job programs, and the like, shelters, all of the aspects and issues, COVID response. All the issues that we talk about on a day-to-day basis go through the city council. And so I implore individuals, whether in District 9 or elsewhere, if you have a problem, call up your city councilor and ask her or him what is going on and to get it solved, to get it fixed. And if you can't do that, you can call our helpline in District 9 or elsewhere, 845-445-8875. We'll get you the help that you need. That's what's important. We've been doing it throughout the months and years. We've helped individuals who had leaky roofs, mold in their apartments. Those are the cases that are not spoken about, and I have no problem with that because it's about helping the community. We have some larger cases that get some spotlight and attention because they have some major names involved, but ultimately it's about helping the community. So to do that work on a daily basis, I go to sleep with a smile on my face because I feel like we're doing some good.
Got you. And talking about rent stabilization, how could the city councilman help more affordable housing? Because again, I go back to the example of my son. He went to school, he's doing all right, but rent in New York City, even in Harlem, is extremely high. Yeah. What type of programs would you put in place to make sure that the average college graduate that's making 50, 60 grand could have, decent housing?
Well, I appreciate the question. This is incredibly important. The median income in Harlem is around $35,000. So what we want to do is make sure that individual has access to NYC Connect, the affordable housing program in New York, which is currently set for individuals that make around $65,000. But that's not affordable to Harlemites. So we want to lower that AMI level immediately upon entering city council, which is something that won't take dollars out of the city council budget, but will ensure that thousands of New Yorkers have access to affordable housing. Those are the sorts of initiatives that I believe have to be done in the first 100 days elected so that you can really solve this housing crisis, again, both in the short term and make sure that you're not seeing this outburst of homeless individuals due to COVID and the like in various situations. And then in the long term, make sure that those individuals have long-term housing and that it's sustainable. And that's not just the goal. That these policies need to be implemented yesterday. To have the number one city for homelessness in the richest city in the world makes absolutely no sense.
Right. And what is this whole lottery system? So we talk about affordable housing, but then you have an apartment building that goes up. It has 40 units, and then 3 units are up for lottery for like what is that? It sounds like some sort of a racket.
Well, the numbers speak for themselves in terms of individuals lately who have been able to move into affordable housing. You pair that with the credit rating system that they slapped on top of it, Tommy, and it does start to sound like a racket because nobody can move into the affordable housing. No one can afford the affordable housing. So then what do you have? You've created a system of haves and have-nots, and we've sort of gone backwards, right? Because you created an artificial system that people of a certain means can't access. So that's almost worse than having no system at all. So if you're going to have an affordable housing program, it has to be truly affordable. It has to make sense. The devil's in the details. A credit rating system that pairs out many individuals it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So question for you, and this you can, if you don't want to answer this, totally fine. But there was a TikTok video that went around that said it's going to be a real hot summer because weed is being legalized and prostitutes can no longer be arrested. So my question to you is, how do you think the cannabis industry would help small businesses in Harlem? And what do you think the effect of prostitutes not being arrested would have an effect on the community?
Well, this is really important. All right. I'm a libertarian. So in terms of those sorts of vice laws, I'm in favor of curtailing them or eliminating them, which is what we advocated for prior to this happening, both with marijuana and with prostitution. And so there are many individuals that were involved in that process, Cuomo, Cy Vance, et cetera, who had wavering feelings about it. We're at the point now where individuals believe that bringing our economy to the fore is more important than sanctioning through laws some of the things that they might not agree with. And so we need to now make sure that that industry that's created helps the same people that it hurt over the years that we sent to prison. I was just at Douglas houses. We did a march from Grant houses to Douglas houses. Now, the amount of people that we put in prison for small marijuana offenses is outrageous. It's an absurdly high number. And so those individuals need to be first in line to start these small businesses that you're talking about, to jumpstart this economy. Now, if you need a model, and this is where we have to be creative as a city council, Massachusetts, California, Colorado have already done this successfully. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You need to study what's already been done and then implement it in the New York way for our New Yorkers and for our Harlemites. So I don't think it's rocket science. I am appreciative for the business opportunities that will come from these vice laws being curtailed. I think it's incredibly important for our city. And I've heard this from individuals. This is what people want. People want to come back to the city, enjoy the city. They can go anywhere. They can go skiing in Denver. They can go to Miami, and they've chosen these places. So if they're coming back to New York, they want to experience all that New York has to offer, and they want to have a good time. And I have no problem with
that. And in your first 100 days, what is your plan of action to help the small businesses that have been affected by COVID and the whole downturn of the economy?
Yeah, we're very much in favor of a NYC stimulus for our small businesses and individuals. It's something I've been advocating for months. And we think it's going to help make sure that our businesses stay. I've represented a number of businesses legally that have gone under because they could not survive COVID. Now, we have gotten some businesses and individuals their stimulus dollars and PUA and unemployment and various sums of money that they wouldn't have received otherwise going through bureaucracy. But we need a New York City stimulus to save our businesses. And then we need to curtail COVID. We've advocated for various COVID sites around Harlem. And we will change also in the first 100 days to Abbott rapid testing or some rapid testing model in every school in New York City, public school, so that we do not spread COVID in our schools, which is a very obvious thing that's going to happen, and it continues to happen because the test that we employ currently, you get the results back in a week. So you don't know anything. You need to switch that so that you can keep our staff and children and parents safe.
Sounds good. So in a 60-second pitch, please tell us the date of the election and why we should vote for you.
Yes, the date of the election is June 22nd. Please come out. This is our second election. We are back because this matters. So much of what we talk about every day happens at a city council level, and we need more in District 9. Anybody who lives here knows exactly what I'm talking about. So in terms of my legal skills, my faith background, and my education background as a teacher, I feel that these are the skills that we need at a city council level. And I'm happy to bring them to the fore, make sure that our Harlemites come first, that we put Harlem first, and that we get the job done. Because nothing else matters. I'm thankful to the community. We're number one on the ballot, so you don't have to look far. Please rank us number one, and let's put Harlem first.
Sounds good.
And please,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can also go to www.goodingforharlem.com, and you can find us, Robert Jackson for Harlem, Robert for Harlem, Gooding for Harlem, Zoe for Harlem, at gmail.com. So please reach out to us if you have any questions.
Sounds good. And is your social media handles on your website as well?
Yes, they're there, but at P. Gooding, at Pierre Gooding, you will find Gooding for Harlem. You will find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, no TikTok, which is a discussion we're having the team as we speak. And it may come to the fore, it may not, but it is an open discussion right now. And so if people have thoughts on that, let me know.
Yeah. So TikTok, just to give you a little, 30 seconds, you don't have to do anything. Just play the music in the background, put what you believe in fonts on the screen, and just stand there. You don't have to do nothing else. You can do it 100 times over and you'll go viral. It's that simple.
Sounds amazing, Tom.
Just pick a trending sound. That's all you have to do. You don't have to dance, do anything.
I know this is good information because this is what I just heard earlier today in the consulting meeting. The music is incredibly important. So we're going to try to put those together. But Tommy, I don't know how many platforms we can handle. We're on 3-4 right now.
You know what it is? You have to be on everything, right? And it's just a fact of repurposing the content for each platform. So even something like this, we could reposition it for easily 6 or 7 different platforms.
Well, maybe this will be our first TikTok.
Absolutely. You know what? Absolutely. I could turn this into a TikTok.
You can't. Well, there you go. Look, if you do that, you can plug me in. I actually come on TikTok with some content that we're proud about, and we go from there.
It's all about being organic, man. That's all you got to do. Like right.
But Tommy, we're really appreciative. This podcast is inspirational, and it's positive, which is what we're all about. So thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. After I chop it up and get everything together, I'll send it to Robert, and we'll start sprinkling, tweets, and I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll put some on Facebook. I'll put some on Instagram. I'll put some on LinkedIn. I'll trickle it.
We're going to send it out to our 15,000 followers as well. Make sure that our Harlemites know what's going on. We really need folks to wake up. June 22nd is right around the corner. 40 days, and it's time. It's time to create positive change. So
we'll be calling you anytime we have something. We'll be calling.
Let's go. Please do. That's what we're about. We show up in full force, and we bring our resources. Robert, a man of many talents, has been doing this for two decades. County committeeman. We've got people all over the place that want to do the work. So let's go.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.